Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Gaurav Sharma and with me is VC Pramod bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. Central Asia is central to India's vision of an integrated and stable extended neighborhood, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the first India Central Asia Summit. Central Asian nations support India's proposal to include the Chabahar port in the INSTC framework. India and Central Asian nations say they are committed to a peaceful, secure and stable Afghanistan with a truly representative and inclusive government. Air India officially handed over to Tata Sons Limited. China imposes stringent COVID-19 restrictions in Beijing ahead of the Winter Olympics. UK lifts mandatory face mask and other COVID restrictions. India issues conditional market authorization to Covishield and Covaxin COVID vaccines. India's electronic goods exports registers a growth of 49% in the April-December quarter. And at the Australian Open, top seed Ashley Barty to take on Danielle Collins in the title clash of the women's singles. As the number of COVID-19 cases are rising fast in several parts of the country, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant, get fully vaccinated, and help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, to get vaccinated. As the new Omicron variant of coronavirus is causing concern, please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact the national helpline numbers 011 2397 8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that Central Asia is central to India's vision of an integrated and stable extended neighborhood. In his opening remarks at the first India Central Asia Summit held virtually on Thursday, Mr. Modi stated that they have similar concerns for regional security and are concerned about the developments in Afghanistan. He stressed that this mutual cooperation has become more important in this context for regional security and stability.
रीजनल कनेक्टिविटी के क्षेत्र में भारतीय विजन का एक महत्वपूर्ण अंग है जो असगाबाद एग्रीमेंट में हमारी भागीदारी से स्पष्ट है। क्षेत्रीय सुरक्षा के लिए हम सभी की चिंताएं और उद्देश्य एक समान है। अफगानिस्तान के घटनाक्रम से हम सभी चिंतित हैं। इस संदर्भ में भी हमारा आपसी सहयोग क्षेत्रीय सुरक्षा और स्थिरता के लिए और महत्वपूर्ण हो गया है।
The Prime Minister highlighted 3 main objectives of Thursday's summit. The first was to clarify that mutual cooperation between India and Central Asia is essential for regional security and prosperity. He said the second objective was to give a structure to the India-Central Asia cooperation. He also said that doing so will establish a framework of regular interactions at different levels. Finally, he said that the summit aims at creating an ambitious roadmap for the India-Central Asia cooperation. Mr. Modi said the diplomatic relations between India and the Central Asian nations have completed 30 fruitful years and have seen so many successes over the past 3 decades.
आज की समिट के 3 प्रमुख उद्देश्य हैं। पहला, यह स्पष्ट करना कि भारत और सेंट्रल एशिया का आपसी सहयोग क्षेत्रीय सुरक्षा और समृद्धि के लिए अनिवार्य है। दूसरा उद्देश्य हमारे सहयोग को एक प्रभावी स्ट्रक्चर देना है और तीसरा उद्देश्य हमारे सहयोग के लिए एक महत्वाकांक्षी रोडमैप बनाना है। इसके माध्यम से हम अगले 3 सालों में रीजनल कनेक्टिविटी और कोऑपरेशन के लिए एक इंटीग्रेटेड अप्रोच अपना सकेंगे।
He said it is time to define an ambitious vision for the coming years as well. Presidents of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyz Republic, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan participated in the summit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and presidents of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyz Republic, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan have agreed to take concrete steps for a comprehensive and enduring India-Central Asia partnership. Briefing the media after the first India-Central Asia Summit, which was hosted by India, Secretary West in the External Affairs Ministry, Reenat Sandhu, said that an important outcome of the meeting today was the agreement among the leaders to hold summit-level meetings every 2 years. The next summit would be accordingly held in 2024. Connectivity was one of the key issues discussed at the first India-Central Asia Summit held on Thursday. Briefing the media, Ms. Sandhu said that the leaders agreed to work together to use the Chabahar port to connect Central Asia with India and further with South Asia.
They have supported our proposal to include Chabahar within the INSTC framework. We already have a trilateral mechanism of India, Iran, Uzbekistan on the Chabahar port. Other Central Asian countries have also expressed interest in joining this initiative. The INSTC is a functional route through the Bandar Abbas port of Iran that further passes through Azerbaijan or alternatively through Caspian Sea to Russia. Usage of this route can reduce the time taken from 40 to 45 days to 20 to 25 days between India and Russia, as well as reduce costs by 30 to 40%.
On Afghanistan, the Secretary said that India and the Central Asian nations shared similar concerns on the situation in the country. She stated that the leaders agreed to set up a joint working group on Afghanistan at the senior officials level.
Our common priorities include providing immediate humanitarian assistance, ensuring formation of a truly representative and inclusive government, combating terrorism and drug trafficking, and preserving the rights of women, children, and minorities. At the meeting today, the leaders agreed to continue close consultations on Afghanistan, on the situation there, and decided to establish a joint working group on Afghanistan at the senior officials level. India and Central Asian countries are committed to combating the menace of terrorism, extremism, and drug trafficking. Our security cooperation includes discussions and exchanges on all these matters.
Meram Taron, the youth from India's northeastern state of Arunachal Pradesh who crossed over to the Chinese side, has been handed over to the Indian side after providing humanitarian aid. Prasar Bharati Beijing correspondent reports that the Western Theatre Command of the PLA confirmed the release of the boy. 19-year-old Meram went missing on the 18th of January at Xiongla in Bishing area. The Chinese Defense Ministry said that the 14th round of the co-commander level meeting between Indian and Chinese militaries held earlier this month was positive and constructive. At the monthly press conference in Beijing on Thursday, Chinese Defense Ministry spokesperson Senior Colonel Wu Qian said that China will work closely with the Indian side to properly handle the border issue through negotiation and consultation. Responding to a media query regarding the 14th round of talks on the China-India border issue, Wu stressed that the Chinese side believed this round of talks were positive and constructive, and both sides held the talks in a frank and friendly atmosphere. Ahead of the Beijing Winter Olympics, which opens on the 4th of February, Beijing has imposed stringent restrictions against movement to protect the Olympic bubble as China's top leadership vowed to deliver a coronavirus-safe Winter Games. Athletes and others participating in the Games are being completely isolated from the general public to try to avoid cross-infection. Till Wednesday, the number of COVID-19 cases in the Olympic bubble had risen to 106 among the 3,695 who had arrived.
The United States has issued a business advisory of what it described as the heightened risks associated with conducting business in Myanmar, and particularly business activity that could benefit the military regime. In a statement issued on Wednesday, the U.S. State Department said that the advisory seeks to inform individuals, businesses, financial institutions, and other persons of the associated illicit finance and money laundering risks, as well as reputational and legal risks of conducting business and utilizing supply chains under the military control in Myanmar. External Affairs Minister of India Dr. Jaishankar and his French counterpart Jean-Yves Le Drian discussed the opportunities for India in the French presidency of the European Union on Thursday. In a conversation with the French Foreign Minister in virtual format, Dr. Jaishankar said that the India-France relationship has steadily matured and it is time now to take it to the next level. During the event titled The French Presidency EU-India Partnership in the Indo-Pacific, Dr. Jaishankar pointed out that new and old French aircraft flew during the Republic Day parade yesterday. He said Rafale taking part in the Republic Day flypast is an example of the strategic partnership between India and France. He added that the bilateral relationship goes back multiple decades.
The Delhi government has decided to ease the restrictions in the national capital imposed due to the rise in COVID-19 cases. It has decided to revoke weekend curfew and open markets without the odd-even rule. These decisions were taken in the 32nd meeting of the Delhi Disaster Management Authority under the chairmanship of Delhi Lieutenant Governor Anil Baijal on Thursday to review the COVID-19 situation in Delhi. In the meeting, it was decided to open all government offices with 100% strength up to grade 1 level, while restaurants, bars and cinema halls to operate up to 50% capacity. However, night curfew from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. every day will continue in the city. Schools will also remain closed in the national capital. India's Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia on Thursday said that Central Drug Standard Control Organization has upgraded the permission for Covaxin and Covishield from restricted use in emergency situations to normal new drug permission in adult population. He added that this has been done with certain conditions. The conditions include supply of programmatic settings, including registration on CoWIN platform, and to continue to submit safety data on a 6-monthly basis.
In England, most coronavirus restrictions, including mandatory face masks, are lifted starting Thursday. This comes after Britain's government said that its vaccine booster rollout plan has successfully reduced serious illness and COVID-19 hospitalizations. The statement said that from Thursday, all measures under what it calls Plan B have been lifted, meaning face coverings are no longer mandatory in indoor venues. Health officials in Britain are saying that they are planning a longer-term post-pandemic strategy that treats COVID-19 more like the flu. However, the World Health Organization has warned against the dangers of treating COVID-19 like the flu and dropping pandemic restrictions. The Bangladesh Parliament, or the Jatiya Sangsad, on Thursday passed the bill for the appointment of election commissioners and chief election commissioner for the formation of the next election commission, EC. The bill was placed in the Parliament by the Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Anisul Haq. According to reports, the bill was passed by the voice vote. The bill gives a legal shield to the appointments of the Chief Election Commissioner, CEC, and the election commissioners to form the EC. The tenure of the current election commission ends on the 14th of February.
In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion on the India Central Asia Summit. In conversation are Ashok Sajjanhar, a former diplomat, and Nilova Roy Chaudhary, a journalist.
Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar, how vital exactly then is this India-Central Asia relationship? And, if you could give us a couple of reasons particularly.
Central Asia is very important for India because we term it as a part of our extended neighborhood. India and Central Asia, the 5 countries of Central Asia, which till 1991 were a part of the Soviet Union, and they got independence after the disintegration of the Soviet Union. So we have had cultural, civilizational, historical relations with each other because whether it was from 3rd century BCE till about 15th century CE, we had the Silk Road going through it. And even in the Soviet times, much closer in Soviet times, we had very strong partnership. But after they became independent, our relations have not really been able to take off. Although there is fund of goodwill between India and all these countries because of the issue of connectivity. We do not have proximate contiguous borders with any of these countries. And Pakistan, which falls between India and Central Asia, and also between India and Afghanistan. Afghanistan does not provide access to these countries through its territory. So that has been an issue, that has been a problem, why our relations have really not been able to achieve the desired potential. But these countries are extremely rich in mineral resources, for instance, in hydrocarbons, whether it is oil or it is gas or it is uranium, or the other countries, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, are very rich in water resources. So there is a great possibility, great potential for expanding our relations. And one more aspect, let me add here, which has become very relevant and significant more recently, that is the situation in Afghanistan. Because in Afghanistan, we have seen on 15th August, by force, by military power, the Taliban have taken charge, have assumed control. But although it is more than 5 months now, not a single country in the world has so far accorded diplomatic recognition to it.
Bilaterally with each of the Central Asian countries and regionally, how much has the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan affected the bilateral dynamic and the regional relationship?
I think that is a very important factor that has come up in the last few months, and in that context, the salience and relevance of Central Asia for India has increased very significantly. Before that, also, we were trying to, I mentioned about connectivity, we were trying to get over this problem by going through Chabahar. Now that initiative will increase much more. But coming to the security and stability and peace in Afghanistan, that is an issue which has, over the last few months, we saw the Delhi Regional Security Dialogue taking place, in which we had the secretaries of National Security Councils of all the 5 Central Asian countries, of course, in addition to their counterparts from Iran and Russia and India. And then we had the 3rd India-Central Asia Regional Dialogue taking place. And there also all the 5 foreign ministers from Central Asian countries, they came to India. So these interactions, discussions took place, the Regional Security Dialogue in November and the Central Asia Dialogue in December. So they have come, and there were consensus documents that were adopted by both these meetings, and there we find that there is a great similarity of views as far as dealing with the issues in Afghanistan is concerned. The first aspect, of course, is in terms of having an inclusive government in Afghanistan so that the human rights of all minorities, whether it is Tajiks who comprise anything between 32 to 46% of the population in Afghanistan, Tajiks, Uzbeks, Hazaras, Shias, their rights are protected, and also the rights of women and children are protected. And Afghanistan is not used as a staging ground for launching terror attacks against its neighbors and other countries. And we have seen what has happened in Kazakhstan earlier this month in January. And the Kazakh president, Mr. Tokayev, in his address to the nation on 5th of January, he said that there were Afghan terrorists who were present amongst those who were indulging in violence and bloodshed in Kazakhstan. So that lends it even greater urgency and importance.
The Prime Minister spoke about the second objective in this relationship being, of this summit today, being to give an effective structure to our cooperation. This will establish a framework of regular interactions at different levels and among various stakeholders. We've already seen several very important interactions recently. What exactly does this mean? This effective structure means what?
I think we'll have to see how it gets reflected going forward. But I find this extremely encouraging, and in several of my own writings, this is what I had also spoken about. I think one is definitely at the level of the national security advisors, because we had a meeting that took place in India, in Delhi, in November. That it was something that revolves from one country to the other. The first 2 meetings were held in 2018 and 2019 by Iran. India was to host it in 2020, but because of the pandemic, we were not able to host it. So I think what the government has in mind is to regularize and to give a formal structure to this meeting, to this interaction between the National Security Councils of the 5+1 these countries. The second structure, we already have, the India Central Asia Dialogue. The first meeting of that was held in Samarkand in January 2019, the second meeting in a virtual format in October 2020, and the third meeting in December when all the foreign ministers of these countries came to India. So underlining and emphasizing that this is also a regular structure. And the third, I think, most important would be in terms of having regular, periodic, summit-level interaction. When the Kyrgyz president was, in his introductory remarks, he said that we are having this first interaction in a virtual format, but I very sincerely hope that the next interaction of the summit, we will be able to meet in person. So I would very sincerely hope, if not an annual summit, at least once in 2 years, summit-level interaction. If that is decided, that would really give a very strong impetus to the bilateral relations. Because we know that in all these countries, Nilova, all the major decisions are really taken at the level of the presidents. So if the summit level interaction takes place, then I think in other areas of trade, of economy, of investment, and connectivity, which was the third element of the Prime Minister's objectives, there also we would be able to make very significant progress.
So would Central Asia, for example, also be looking to India to be able to give them sort of a balancing factor between these other two huge giants, particularly China now, which seems to be encroaching all over Central Asia?
Well, China has increased its footprint very significantly as far as Central Asia is concerned. That would be a matter of concern not only to other countries, but even to Russia. And Russia and China are very strong, close partners. Mr. Putin has said that he has a very strong personal relationship of trust with Mr. Xi Jinping. But I'm sure the increasing footprint of China in this region would be a matter of concern for Russia also. And that is why you would see, Nilova, that in the India-Russia summit on the 6th of December, one of the elements is how Russia and India can cooperate in Central Asia, and particularly in the area of defense, because we see that most of the defense equipment in Central Asian countries would be of Soviet and of Russian origin, as it is in India. So whether it is supplying spare parts or overhauling or servicing, there are so many things that Russia and India can work together. And both of them have also exchanged documents as to how we can go forward together as far as Central Asia is concerned.
India-Central Asia relations is going to be one of the particularly important relationships developing in the coming times. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Air India has been officially handed over to the Tata Sons Limited. The Tata Group takes over the management and control of the airline. The transaction covers 3 entities: Air India Express, and AISATS. The Civil Aviation Minister, Jyotiraditya Scindia, said, "It is indeed noteworthy that the disinvestment process of Air India has been brought to a successful conclusion in a time-bound manner." He said that this proves the government's ability and the resolve to carry out disinvestment effectively in the non-strategic sectors in the future. Mr. Scindia extended his best wishes to the new owner, saying that he is confident that the airline will bloom under Tata Sons' wings and pave the way for a thriving and robust civil aviation industry in India. Department of Investment and Public Asset Management Secretary Tuhin Kant Pandey on Thursday said that the strategic disinvestment transaction of Air India successfully concluded with the transfer of 100% shares of Air India to Thales Private Limited along with management control. In a statement by the Tata Group, Chairman of Tata Sons Private Limited, N. Chandrasekharan, said that the Tata Group agrees with the Prime Minister's vision for the aviation sector of making it affordable and boosting the ease of living for the citizens. Last October, the government approved Air India Disinvestment.
India's exports in electronic goods registered a growth of 49% in the April-December quarter in 2021. In a statement, the Commerce Ministry said that the whopping growth saw an export of $11 billion over the $7.4 billion during the same period in the year 2020. The US and the UAE were the top two electronic export destinations. The steps taken by the government, which are expected to increase the domestic manufacturing and export of electronic goods, include the Production-Linked Incentive Scheme (PLI) for large-scale electronics manufacturing. In tennis, Ashley Barty reached the Australian Open Women's Final with a 6-1, 6-3 win over unseeded Madison Keys. Barty is the first Australian woman to reach the singles final of a home Grand Slam tournament since Wendy Turnbull in 1980. In the other semi-final, American Danielle Collins beat 7-seed Iga Swiatek in straight sets 6-4, 6-1 and advanced to her maiden Grand Slam final.
And now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Let's take a look at what made the headlines in Nepal. Republica writes that a total of 75 projects being constructed in Nepal with Indian assistance will be inaugurated this year. And now, some press reports from Bangladesh. The US has sent another batch of 3.2 million doses of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine to Bangladesh, reports Prothom Alo. In some reports from the press on China, Financial Times reports that Apple has reclaimed the top smartphone seller spot in China in 2021 for the first time in 6 years as biting US sanctions throttled shipments from rival Huawei. And now looking at the press reports from Afghanistan, according to Pajwok News, a 12-year-old Afghan boy was killed by rockets fired by the Pakistani armed forces into Sarkano district of East Kunar province. The incident was confirmed by Taliban. The report adds that the Pakistan army has fired several rockets into Afghanistan since the Taliban takeover. Now a quick look at the headlines once again. Central Asia is central to India's vision of an integrated and stable extended neighborhood, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the first India Central Asia Summit. Central Asian nations support India's proposal to include the Chabahar port in the INSTC framework. India and Central Asian nations say they're committed to a peaceful, secure and stable Afghanistan with a truly representative and inclusive government. Air India officially handed over to the Tata Sons Limited. China imposes stringent COVID-19 restrictions in Beijing ahead of the Winter Olympics. UK lifts mandatory face mask and other COVID restrictions. India issues conditional market authorization to Covishield and Covaxin COVID vaccines. India's electronic goods exports registers a growth of 49% in the April-December quarter. And at the Australian Open, top seed Ashley Barty to take on Danielle Collins in title clash of the women's singles.
And now, before we end, let's listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Bhutan.
Vaishnav Jan to teene kahiye je, peer paraye jaane re, par dukhe upkar kare to ye man
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.